Making it in the NFL is no small task, and the journey itself can take many forms for each player that makes it. There are the guys who are blue-chip prospects from the day they step onto a high school football field for the first time till they get a scholarship at a Power 5 school, and then their dreams come true when an NFL team scoops them up on draft day. Then there are the players who have to grind it out, seemingly at every level of competition, fighting for playing time in high school and low-end scholarships at smaller D1 football programs. And then, if by some stroke of luck they end up on that NFL team's radar, only then do they have a chance of being drafted. The guys that take the second path may almost always end up having epic success stories. Sometimes it's about their breakout performance that put them on the map, or the coach that saw a flash of brilliance from them in a random game and wanted to take a chance on them. Either way, the stories are heartwarming and inspiring. Most recently, Gardner Minshew took the NFL by storm when he filled in for an injured Nick Foles in Jacksonville. Minshew was a 6th-round pick in the 2019 NFL Draft and had traveled a long, winding road, one littered with transfer portals and junior colleges and all sorts of obstacles that usually spell doom for an NFL hopeful's dreams. But nevertheless, Minshew made it, and perhaps uncoincidentally, the 2020 NFL Draft's version of Gardner actually attended the same school as Minshew, and he's been playing in the same explosive air raid offense under Mike Leach. The quarterback in question's name, Anthony Gordon of Washington State. Gordon stands about 6'3" and has a rather slender build, but don't let his unassuming demeanor fool you. His play this year has been electric. He has a tenacity and a fearlessness on the field that is uncommon for a first-year starter. But when you consider his journey, well, it all kind of makes sense. Before Anthony Gordon sat on top of the table in nearly every passing statistic for the 2019 college football season, before he was competing neck and neck with guys like LSU's Joe Burrow, he was just a lowly zero-star high school football player in Pacifica, California. Pacifica is a small surf-obsessed town in Northern California, not exactly a hotbed for Division I football talent. Most of the area's best high school athletes watch their journeys into collegiate athletics, and right where Gordon started, at the City College of San Francisco, where Gordon played his one season of JUCO football. For many of these players, including Gordon, who didn't get a single D1 offer, it isn't really a decision. It's their only option if you want to continue playing. Gordon did, however, get drafted in 2015 to play baseball with the New York Mets. But football was always his true love, so he went the junior college route. And I am sure that the coaches at CCSF were grateful to have Gordon as he led the team to a victory in the Junior College National Championship game in his first season there. Still, very few schools showed interest in the JUCO standout. A couple of assistant coaches offered him opportunities to walk on, but no one had a scholarship for him, meaning that Gordon would in all likelihood return to CCSF for another go-round before returning home to, in his words, become a plumber. That was until one fateful afternoon, while bike riding to a friend's house, Gordon received a call from a random number with a Pullman area code. Washington State had been recruiting him, but he never visited the campus and really didn't think it was serious. But sure enough, it ended up being Coach Leach on the other end of the phone, and he was excited to present Gordon with his first D1 offer. An offer that Gordon excitedly accepted, and when classes started that fall, he was in Pullman, officially a Washington State Cougar. His first 2 seasons in Pullman, he sat behind Luke Falk, who would finish his career as the Pac-12's career passing yards leader. Then after Falk left, Coach Leach brought in the aforementioned Gardner Minshew to compete for the starting job in camp. And at this point, we all know how that ended up. He had opportunities to transfer throughout those 3 years and again in February of 2018 as a graduate transfer. But Gordon remained loyal to Coach Leach and Washington State. As Gordon put it, he was proud to be the guy who stayed to the very end and didn't leave when he could have. He would go on to say that Washington State was the only school to believe in me. Why wouldn't I believe in them? Still, the adversity for Gordon was far from over. Ahead of his breakout season in 2019, Gordon's loyalty was again tested. This time, Coach Leach recruited behind him, bringing in Gage Gubrud, a 2-time Walter Payton Award finalist out of Eastern Washington, to compete for the job. Finally, Gordon's stick-to-itiveness was rewarded, however, when he beat out the FCS transfer to win the job in camp. Likewise, Coach Leach saw an immediate return on an investment. when Gordon kick-started his epic season by throwing for 420 yards and 5 touchdown passes in the season opener. It isn't just Gordon's gaudy numbers that have NFL scouts flocking to the West Coast to see the signal caller play in person. After all, it is college football, and there's no shortage of guys compiling numbers around the country. It's more of what they actually see from Gordon on the field. The general consensus is that Anthony Gordon has as close to perfect mechanics as anyone in the college game has had in recent history. It isn't just one facet of his delivery or his footwork, but really the entire production, which has been likened to an art. Everything from his ability to analyze the defense, go through his progressions, and then when the time finally comes to make the throw, well, it's equally gorgeous. It's the way he moves his feet, the way his lower half is perfectly aligned to maximize torque and enhance the velocity and accuracy of his throws. And then, of course, he caps off the masterpiece with a photo-esque finish just about every time. Not only is the whole process impeccable, he also seems to be making high IQ football decisions with extreme consistency. His quarterback's coach at CCSF, Jimmy Collins, explained that as good as he looks on tape, all of his strengths are magnified when watching him play in person. I stood behind a lot of quarterbacks for a long time, and a lot have gone on to play at a high level. I don't know that I've ever stood behind any of those guys and just marveled as much as I did with Anthony. One scout echoed a similar sentiment as he raved about how explosive he looked in person. I was on the field about a month ago watching him throw, the scout says. The ball jumped off his hand, his release just unreal. I haven't seen anything like it in years. I kind of laughed to myself because this whole thing is such an inexact science. I mean, how did everyone miss on him? Anthony's dad, Ryan, who was also a standout quarterback at CCSF back in the day, thinks that growing up in Pacifica was a big reason for scouts sleeping on his son. It isn't just that the area isn't a super popular spot to recruit. Ryan also believes it is the mindset he had in nurturing his son's career. For starters, Anthony and his older brothers weren't even allowed to play tackle football until they were freshmen in high school. Ryan had his career ended by a series of 5 concussions in 6 years, so he and his wife Gina were wary of letting their children play football. Obviously, there is a certain advantage to being the youngest in a football family, as Anthony grew up around the game, but there's a sizable difference between that and actually playing tackle football. Besides, Ryan was primarily focused on maximizing Anthony's progression in baseball, as he had been an elite talent since he was a kid. So while his contemporaries were at those big-time recruiting camps, Anthony was on the diamond, which Ryan now acknowledges may have been a mistake. In hindsight, with Anthony, we didn't realize how important these recruiting camps are, Ryan says. If I could have gotten him to those camps and he stood toe-to-toe with those 4- and 5-star guys, his arm would have done the talking. You know what they say, though, hindsight is 20/20, and Anthony now stands to make millions of dollars in the NFL next year. So I'm sure Ryan and Anthony aren't losing too much sleep over getting such a late start. Even amongst all the newfound adulation and the growing hype, Anthony Gordon is not without detractors. And of course, many of them were the same people who downplayed Gardner Minshew's viability in the NFL. Their reasoning? They are part of a dwindling population of NFL purists who believe that the air raid offense produces quarterbacking prospects that are not equipped to play at the NFL level. This is a notion that has long infuriated Mike Leach. "Will never work in our league," Leach says. Yeah, like they have some kind of unique football plays that only they can use. Shoot, the Patriots have been doing it for 10 years. It's almost like the continued success that Coach Leach has had in developing quarterbacks has started to count against his guys when they are being evaluated for the next level. It isn't just the fact that his success has come in the air raid offense that has some of Gordon's doubters nervous about his ability to play in the pros. Although he has put on a fair amount of weight since he was a super skinny baseball player turned quarterback in Pacifica, scouts are still concerned about how his frame will hold up when he starts banging bodies with the behemoths that lurk around the NFL football fields. 210 pounds is a legitimate leap from 170 soaking wet, but it clearly hasn't been enough to eliminate their worries. There are concerns surrounding what exactly was the reason that it took Gordon so long to earn a starting job, even if Coach Leach now claims that Minshew's Cougars could have won 11 games with Gordo at quarterback. It is now interesting that the same relentlessness that Gordon touts as a strength is also being perceived as a flaw. Does any of this concern Coach Leach when he ponders a star quarterback's ability to play in the NFL? In short, no. It's all garbage, Leach says. As sure as I'm sitting here, Anthony is going to play in the NFL for a long time. As epic as Minshew Mania was, And as impressive as Minshew's climb to the NFL was, Gordon's ascent to becoming a surefire NFL draft pick dwarfs the journey that Gardner took. There were no shortcuts to Pullman. Washington for Anthony Gordon, but it appears a path has finally been paved for him. To go from a zero-star recruit without a single scholarship offer will have made for one unbelievable rewarding tale of perseverance, if you ask me. And if you ask Gordon, well, it's all still pretty surreal to him too. If someone told me last year that I had the chance to play in the NFL, I would have said, "Man, you're crazy." I wouldn't have believed it, Gordon says. Not because I don't think I'm good enough, it just has been unthinkable with this path I have taken. It will be interesting to see how his game translates, but if Minshew's early success is an indicator, well, we could have another stud coming out of Pullman. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to click the subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video, we'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune into TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you next time.